what I call the parenting mirror in a talk about called What Recovery Teaches Us About Parenting. And my thesis is that that is unsustainable and that the life that people so long for, freedom, joy, the full array of their feelings, a life that's happy, joyous, and free, as the promise of recovery puts it, it doesn't work if you keep maintaining on this side, they harmed me so terribly, but
Mhm.
I didn't do any damage here. And so I have it I present it as a three-way mirror. You remember when I was a girl, we all had those three-way mirrors, the
Oh,
big one
yes.
in the middle and the two on the side, and you could see what you were doing with your hair at the back. Yeah, yeah. So one of those, I call it the parenting mirror. On one side, you have the prosecutor, on the other side, you have the defender, and in the middle is the repairer. And the prosecution position is that angry one that you saw in the psychodrama. My parents harmed me so terribly.
Mhm.
And the defender is my parents were great people. They did nothing wrong. My childhood was happy, and ultimately
So you
recovery,
polarize those two roles going
right,
historical. Okay.
right, yes. And I think whichever standard you apply to your parents becomes the standard you ultimately apply to yourself
Mhm. Mhm.
if, if you are a parent. And
Interesting.
I see the goal of recovery as more and more looking in the middle mirror, which is my parents were flawed but human, like I am
Mhm.
flawed and human. And I may hurt my children, but I can go back in and repair. So,
There's this one thing about, I think you'd love psychodrama because, or what I love is that you can, what I see, Samantha, and I can't believe you don't see the exact same thing, is people want to talk to the parent they have, and that conversation just doesn't happen the way they want to have it. So in psychodrama, I sometimes will say, choose someone to play your parent, right? That you would like this amends from, and where would you like to put them in the room so they can watch as you do your work, right? And then what you end up doing is choose someone to play your parent at the age where the damage was done, and you
yeah.
play yourself at that age. So on the
Mm,
stage, you can talk to the right person at the right place at the right time. And that provides a lot of healing, and it also embeds the idea that that was then and this is now, and if I can't have this conversation with my relationship today with my parent, I can still heal. I can still get
yes.
angry at the parent I had then. I can still pout and do all of the things I really need to do to get past this, but it doesn't
Absolutely.
necessarily work to do it with them.
Right. In fact, unless your own parents have undergone a journey of healing as well, we can say with, probably a great degree of certainty that it won't work to do it with them. You will go
Yes.
back in, say your piece, and they'll do what they do, and
Yeah.
you come
Yes.
away with it again, right? Yeah, so that's why things like psychodrama are so helpful for people for resolving this. And
Mhm.
I had another little step. So, my own personal journey, I've been trying more and more each year to look through the central mirror rather than
Mhm.
either
Yes.
of the other two. So
Yeah.
in my early recovery, I was very angry at my parents. I was still in the blame paradigm. But that set me up. That set me up for the trap of collapsing with shame anytime I did anything wrong with my own children.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
right, right,
I could almost, I'm going to listen to that again for the recording.
right.
That's an
Yeah,
important thing to say.
yeah. And so every time I did a step 10 to go, what went wrong there in my interaction with one of my children, and I would discover some fears, I would discover maybe some unreasonable expectations, or maybe some reasonable expectations, but that I haven't set the boundary clearly, or I don't know how to do it, or whatever. But over time, it began to get twigged to the fact that this isn't working.
Mm.
I'm being way too harsh on myself. and
Hmm.
it's non-productive.
Hmm.
And so as my compassion for myself grew, and I still kept applying that, recovery commitment to honesty and truth, I
Hmm.
found naturally I had to apply it up the line. Otherwise, I was being dishonest. And it's
Uh-huh.
you get that? And it's just been a journey that's gone on from there, walking in it. It's not easy.